Hey, how's it going? I'm IlaGolden, she's Jade Hamilton, and welcome to my blog. So, as promised, I have my special guest with me today. Very exciting, very happy to have you here, Jade. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Sorry?
Lovely to be here.
Good. So, as I have mentioned in the vlogs where I've mentioned this collab's coming up, this one is going to be about diversity. Specifically, we're going to be speaking a little bit about diversity in terms of characters and diversity in terms of stories and storytelling. We've narrowed our focus a little bit on this, and we have chosen some characters and stories that we have written to specifically talk about, just to keep it a little bit more focused. So I think I will let Jade start this one off and introduce her current, I think, favourite character. So take it away.
Well, Adelaide, she is my little baby. She's my girl. She has very complex needs. She has issues with her speech. She has behavioural problems, learning difficulties. She has problems with her continence. She's really not having an easy time of it, but she's also great fun. She's a bit of a tinker, actually, which I love. That's great fun to write.
Yeah.
And she's also a teenage girl, so she wants to hang out with her mates and snog her boyfriend, because yes, she has got a boyfriend, and wind up her parents and just generally be, as I say, a bit of a tinker.
If you want to talk a little bit, because obviously, Addie is a character that we've both discussed at great length, and she's got a very interesting sort of backstory to her, and it's kind of through that you get a lot of the differences that you're trying to sort of the situation very much in her case is very unique.
Well, Addie is profoundly neglected from a very, very early age. She's basically locked in a garage for 14 years, fed on baby food. And, she is, because of that neglect, it's affected her speech. And also because of the lack of interaction, her frontal lobes, which is this bit across here, are affected. So she has a little bit of an impulse control issue. She has issues with her sequencing, so things like brushing her teeth or feeding herself are very hard, because it's very difficult to put those bits of task in order to do those things. But that being said, she's not a tragic little puppet. I didn't want to make her a tragic little puppet, because I think a lot of people have been down that road before, and A, it's really reductive, and B, it's really, really boring.
But I think not only that, I think you liked the idea of giving her agency, because I remember when you sort of switched, so obviously I do know a lot about Addie and Addie's story, and when you sort of switched focus from telling it from Felix's point of view to doing it from Adelaide's point of view, one of the things you found was that actually she was very capable despite everything, and you actually were quite surprised by that.
As I say, it surprised me how much of a little tinker she was. you know, she's very capable of saying, woo, I'm over here, talk to me, don't talk to the people around me. Partly, I suppose, because that comes from me, because I hate that. As our viewers can probably see, I'm wheelchair dependent, and I get a lot of people talking over my head or talking in the third person. And to say drive me to lally is an understatement.
I know just how frustrated you get.
Yeah. This is what comes with having a best friend who's also a writer and is also a very good listener. Yeah. So I think my preoccupations, to a certain degree, are Adelaide's preoccupations. She doesn't like being treated like she's silly. Okay, she's got learning difficulties, but she isn't stupid. You know, she's very aware of people and the way people treat her. She's a total daddy's girl, which comes from me as well, because me and my dad have always been incredibly close. And, you know, and that's partly something I wanted to do with the story as well, because so many stories about adoption, which is at a basic level what Adelaide's story is about, are all about mothers. They're all about mums kind of metaphorically staring through playground railings and going, I want a baby, which is true for some families, you know, and I'm not saying it's not, but it's not true for all families.
No.
And for Adelaide's family, it's her dad. Her dad has always wanted children, her adopted father. And so when the job at the secure unit in which Adelaide is living at the time, she's been put in a secure unit because there's nowhere else for her to go, because she's got no relatives or anything that anybody can find. And her behaviour is incredibly challenging. She will self-injure, she cries a lot, she screams, she's very, very demanding behaviours because she needs what a secure unit can't give her, which is one-to-one love and attention. And so when Felix appears in her little world, she attaches herself to him to such a degree that almost from day one, she's calling him Dad, which is hard for her adopted mother, for Joy, because Adelaide, just for the first episode, because it's a little mini series of the play, just completely ignores her, really, because this is borne out in research. A lot of girls, and it does seem to be more girls than boys for some reason, who experience this horrible level of neglect, have real problems with the maternal figure, because for a lot of them, that relationship doesn't work very well, for obvious reasons, because obviously mum is doing the main caring, and so a lot of the time is responsible for that neglect. So
and the whole the series of stories that Adelaide is in, the smallest words, the whole sort of pantheon, is that the right word? Pantheon of stories and spin-offs that you've seen.
I call it the Addiverse.
Yes. the Addiverse is filled with lots of different, very diverse characters. You mentioned Addie having a boyfriend, and you know he himself is, you know, an example of a diverse character. And
Christopher's cool. Christopher's got learning difficulties, and he's desperate to be an actor and get a motorbike, which is just like, you know. But he's looked after by his big brother because his dad's not about and his mum isn't very well. She's had a stroke. So his brother, Mark, who's 13 years older, 14 years older, agrees to step up and look after Chris with his partner, Tony. Now, Tony is male and Polish. And that came partly from after Brexit in the UK. There was a lot of stuff about immigrants, about anybody that didn't fit. And I can remember listening to some people making some comments about people whose sexualities were different. I won't go into what they said because they weren't very nice things, but I decided very gently to call them out on it. I'd had a feeling for a while that Mark was gay, so I thought, okay, let's make this into a thing. Let's make it. I didn't want to make it a defining part of his character because Mark isn't just a gay guy.
No.
I wanted it to be something that was important to him, if that makes sense. I mean, you know, there is actually a prequel, hopefully, touch wood, in the pipeline called Clouds Across the Moon about Mark and Tony and Christopher, because they meet on a gap year. They volunteer at a school for disabled kids over in France, and they meet there. And this is when Mark and Christopher's mum has just become ill. Mark's only 21, and he's just having a really rough time, to be honest. And Tony, this, you know, really bright, artistic guy from Krakow, just appears in his life. It's like, wow, you know, amazing. And they just are kind of drawn to each other. And then when the situation with Christopher comes up, it just seems logical to Mark that he should step up to the plate and look after Chris, really. Having gone to a boarding school with lots and lots of other disabled children, I was very used to slightly different family dynamics. I had a lot of friends whose parents were divorced. I had a lot of friends who were living in foster families or with other relatives, as Christopher is. I knew one lad who was the youngest of 11 and was living with his granny because there literally was not room in his house for him and all the equipment that he needed. And I wanted to talk about that and talk about kinship carers in a way that wasn't kind of, you know, a hand-wringing thing. Because to Mark, it just seems natural that he should look after Chris. I mean, it's his little brother. That's what big brothers are for. But it's also quite difficult for Mark because he's gone from the fun guy who takes Christopher out places and, you know, teaches him to, you know, play footy and do all those sorts of things, to the person who says, brush your teeth, Chris, go to bed, do your homework, eat your vegetables. You know, and that's quite difficult for Christopher as well. And that's one of the great things about writing characters whose backgrounds are diverse, whose cultures are diverse, whose sexualities are diverse, you get a much more interesting set of dynamics than you would if you stuck to straight, white families all the time.
And I think that's very much why you encouraged me to write Echo and Echo's story, because although I did have a diverse range of characters, I'd not really dealt that much with disabled characters before that point. Yes, I'd sort of had a few, but not with necessarily physical disabilities. So it was sort of a challenge to sort of have to think about the environment and how she got around and how she interacted with the world in a way that I was unaccustomed to, very much so. And I think, you know, within the world, because again, it is a fantasy world as well that she's involved with, you know, I'm trying to encourage people to go read Echo, please.
Honestly, do read it. It is brilliant. If you haven't already, do go and read for our lovely viewers.
But yeah, no, having that sort of challenge of very much thinking about things in a very sort of different way. It, you know, as an able-bodied writer, I just hope that I've sort of done the character justice in those sorts of terms. And you know, you did very much inspire her. I don't think I would have necessarily pushed myself to write a story like that if you know, you hadn't have asked.
Yes, because I did actually ask you, didn't I?
Yeah, very much so. But
because I find it really weird that a lot of books about disabled people, very few of them have got kids, and that's just really weird to me, because I know a lot of disabled people with children, and not to acknowledge that in stories just seems a bit bizarre.
I mean, I know the kids didn't, you know, take as much focus of the story as you probably would have liked.
For anyone who doesn't know me, lovely viewers, I have a maternal streak about the size of the M6.
Oh, if she'd had her way of writing my story, those kids would have had a much bigger role.
Yeah. Especially since Tinder was cute. I loved him. Right.
He is the more adorable of the two, I must admit. Anyway, Han, it's been lovely having you with me today. I hope you've enjoyed yourself as much as I've enjoyed myself.
As I say, it's been lovely to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
No worries. Hopefully we'll get to do something like this again soon. Speaking of which, we have done something like this again soon over on Jade's channel. So after you finish watching this, go check that out. This was all about diversity in terms of characters and stories. And on her channel, it'll be diversity in terms of medium. Anyway, I hope you guys have all found this enjoyable and fun and interesting, and let me know if you guys want more videos like these with the lovely Jade involved. Next time we will be talking about antagonists. It will just be me again, and we will be talking about antagonists because in the protagonist one I mentioned that was something that might be a good idea, and I've decided that it's the next one. Anyway, I will see you all next time. See ya.
Cheerio!
If you've enjoyed this video, feel free to check out some of my others, and if you like what you see, please like and subscribe. See ya!